excited.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Cigar DM and Shadow and Sons. Today we'll be talking about Clash of the Titans and maybe a little bit of Conan in the back and whatever else that pops through our game related minds. Now, today we are going to have Shadow and Sons start what they think about the old Clash of the Titans. The claymation, the filming style. You can really tell the year a movie was made by the way it was filmed. The whole decade, the way it just everything about it. So, what did you guys think of the original?
Want me to go first because you got more to say? I love it. It's a classic. You know, we brought it up because we're doing a tribute to Ray Harryhausen this month. All of the Sinbad movies, and then we're also gonna do a Clash of the Titans video Tuesday, just to give our recap on it because it belongs with the Ray Harryhausen tribute. And like I said, it's a classic. It's a lovely movie. It's I use the word charming a lot because it takes me back to not just that era, but the true spirit of the Greek mythology. It was simple. There were the good and evil was clearly defined, easily identifiable.
Yeah.
And it's I hadn't seen it in decades, and we just watched it last week for the first time for him. And I've probably only seen it half a dozen times, and there were things I had forgotten, so it was like watching it all over again for the first time. I really, really enjoyed the heck out of it, just for its purity, its simplicity, its good versus evil. Yes, it was highly predictable. Once you get about halfway through it, you know exactly how it's going to end, but it ends magnificently nonetheless. And I'm so glad the little guy enjoyed it, and I hope everybody else will go out there and give it a try. I know there's only like one game, I think that being RuneQuest, and I could be wrong on that really jumps into the Greek myth as a role-playing game. There's a lot of ancient battle games where it's just the war type situations, and that's really not my cup of tea. And I don't think I would ever want to be in that kind of a role-playing game, just because it's all been done. When you're looking at other not necessarily licenses, but eras or mythologies, all the great stories have been told, and I just find that it wouldn't be, for me personally, an era that I'd want to play in. There's not a lot of room for player character types. Obviously, you're relegated to human only, fighters, maybe some thieves, maybe some priests. Wizards are pretty much always the bad guys. I suppose you could run rangers and barbarians, again, more fighterly types, but there's really no room for the magic abusers, as we call them. They're just, it would be hard to do so. Maybe a mystic or a druid, but for me, it's just a little bit, I'm not going to say too primitive, but just too limiting, and it just never was up my alley. Now, Norse mythology and some other mythologies, oh yeah, count me in, no problem. Greek and Roman, just not my thing. But for a movie, absolutely a must see. If you've never seen it, go out and see it. Little guy?
Well, a lot of what you said I also would agree with. It definitely feels a lot more than the next movie, but we'll get there. It definitely feels a lot more, at least to me, it feels more like an actual Greek legend. The way that it's formatted, I suppose. I mean, I suppose we are going to get into plot things, but not now. But to get into the beginning, it's very simple. The plot, everything, it's simple and effective. It's good. The way that everything is made, and you can tell how impressive everything that was done. I mean, you can see how it was made, but it still looks really, really good. There were a few things that I feel like they could have, not that they could have done better, but that they could have done a bit more with. But
the flying scenes with Pegasus were a little choppy, a little.
That was just the
It was not as good as it could have been.
It was just the
Yeah.
graphics of the time.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, whenever you're looking at it from the future perspective, you can say they could have just done this. They couldn't. They couldn't have done that.
They spent millions on it to begin with, and they were probably hard pressed at the end to get it all under budget.
Yeah.
What'd you think of the monsters? That's the biggie.
Yeah, the monsters. They were probably my favorite of.
Ray Harryhausen.
Yeah, with a few exceptions.
That's why we kind of left it toward the end, because I think it was the last of his movies that I'm familiar with. He may have done something else, but that was like, his grand finale when it comes to monsters. The everything from the scorpions and Pegasus and the owl, and obviously Kalados, which was amazing. And then, the big finale, of course, that being Medusa or the Kraken, depending on how you look at it. I think Medusa was far more terrifying. I think Medusa is his absolute most terrifying monster. Do you agree?
In some respects. I mean, overall, in the overall outcome, no, but with the actual individual basis on going in there, probably.
Yeah, definitely more so than the Kraken. The Kraken is just, another Godzilla kind of monster. Obviously, it's scary because it's going to just stomp on the whole town. But when it came to, one-on-one personal scariness and the way they shot it, with the opening scene where you just see her shadow, that is cinematic gold. Just seeing her head and her body, the shadow of it and the tentacles or the snakes on her head just wiggling around. Yeah. Just pure gold.
There were also a few other shots I really liked. The scene where Zeus, or maybe not Zeus specifically, where Zeus turns the statue into, you change the statue. You see that. I like that shot. That one was nice.
All right. I don't know, with the old one, I grew up reading Greek mythology, so in Greek mythology, you did have a Perseus. He did go against Medusa. He did kind of do what the movie said. I mean, but that's just Hollywood for you. You pick any book and you get a variation of it on film at some point. Where am I going with that one? Yeah, I like the old one. I think if it wasn't for the original Clash of the Titans, we wouldn't get other directors going that route.
Hercules, etc.
The Evil Dead movies, for those, I don't know if, or Ash versus the Evil Dead. I mean,
I don't know if he worked on those or not.
He didn't, but it had that same
technology.
Yeah, it had his fingerprints all over it without him actually doing it.
Yeah.
Especially with Ash versus the Evil Dead. But no, I think the old one. The only problem I have with the old one is just dated. The flying scene was the best that they could do at that time. That's why it was choppy, as you guys said. When they're fighting the scorpions, it felt like they're just fighting dogs that somebody taped a scorpion, suit on. But it was just it was just the way it was. I think the acting was on point, though. I mean, Maggie Smith was in it. It took me forever to Theseus. Is it Theseus? The queen, the one who had the son that was a brat. The actress who played her was Maggie Smith. For those who end up watching this later, that becomes Mrs. McGonagall off of the Harry Potter series.
Oh, okay.
Or Downton Abbey, if you really want to go. She's on Downton Abbey if you want to go. And
Ursula Andress was stunning in it. She was, other than one thing the little guy wants to talk about.
Do I?
We're just gonna. If you won't, I will. She has a unique physical characteristic that we couldn't help noticing. She has a neck that's probably like 12 inches tall. She's got a very, very long, skinny neck. And it just, we noticed it right off the bat, and it just kept throwing us, it's
not as much as things in the second movie did, though.
But, she's gorgeous, and she was perfect And I really liked how in that movie it was, as you know, I'm going to talk about this week. It was a love story. It was all about love between the star-crossed lovers, and they really, as we'll talk about in the next movie, they ignored that completely, and I hated it for it. But I really loved how innocent and not over the top with the romance, but it just seemed like a pure love at first sight sort of destined to be kind of thing that I'm real fond of those kind of stories with reading Conan and John Carter and Brack the Barbarian and some other stories where or even modern examples like Firefly and Castle. I use those two because Nathan Fillion is one of my favorite actors, and he is the luckiest man on the planet, getting to smooch two of my favorite actresses on a regular basis. Lucky man. I just hope he appreciates how lucky he is. And
I wanted him to play Green Lantern for about 10 years ago. I wanted him to be cast as the Green Lantern over Ryan Reynolds. So I understand. Yeah,
he would have done a good job of it. He would have done a good job. Have you ever seen him as Captain Hammer in
Dr. Horrible?
Yes. Oh my God. My son and I we absolutely wore that out on YouTube. We sang the hell out of that whole thing. And then Max actually mentioned Captain Hammer this morning, talking about superheroes, and I just absolutely I was here all by myself, and I just died. It was I'd almost forgotten about it because we stopped listening to a lot of not Netflix, Pandora, where we would hear it all the time, and it was a lot of fun for us, especially the little guy growing up. It was pretty good. But yeah, the whole star-crossed lover thing, that's what it should be about. That's the focus, and they did it really eloquently, and I was really happy to see that, as opposed to the way they handled it in the next movie.
What did you think of Ray Hamlin playing Perseus? I remember seeing him on L.A. Law back in the day.
It was perfect. He looked the part. He was not over the top. He wasn't, he was very modest and not like Flash Gordon, not over the top. Just I'm the hero kind of. He was humble. That's the word I'm looking for, and I really like that. Yeah.
Wow, I remember that movie. The best thing about that was the soundtrack. Yeah.
We just watched it. We love the hell out of that one too. It's just there's only a few movies that I would say that fully epitomized the 80s, and that's in the top 10.
Yeah.
That Beastmaster, Flash Gordon, maybe Clash of the Titans now. They just summed up the 80s for me in every way possible. I know it's schlocky as hell, but if you notice up here, we've got the Star Schlock Kickstarter up here, and we're huge fans of anything that has the word schlock in it, just because we actually have a sense of humor that still works in this day and age. And
that's dangerous. I know. There was a couple things. I don't know. I think I've been spoiled. Not so much as, let's say, Jack has with the new technology set for movies. I mean, this movie, technology-wise, can't stack up with anything that we have on normal TV anymore.
No, not at all. Mm-hmm. Not at all.
I mean, there was a time where this movie was the pinnacle of that style.
Mm-hmm. And I think in a way it'll stay there. In a lot of people's minds, it'll stay there as the basis. This is the ground level you can get in on that kind of a movie, even more than Beastmaster, which I absolutely love, and it's a very similar, similar kind of movie, not necessarily similar era, or mythology, but even Conan, in my opinion, didn't have some of the special effects that this did.
No, Conan was fairly. I mean, other than the guy turning into the snake in the first one, there wasn't much, special effects other than, I mean, there was some, but there was nothing really to, say, wow, about, at least with the Destroyer one. Not with the Destroyer, with the first Conan. The second one kind of got into the special effects with the wizards and whatnot.
And we both noticed that in the first Clash of the Titans, the sets and the backgrounds and all the money that they put into everything was just so extravagant.
Yeah.
It was just stunning. Everything from the walls and the furniture, the costumes, the extras, all the way down to the helmet, which wasn't actually so much, but definitely the shield and the sword were absolutely gorgeous props. I would love to just be able to see them in a museum someday, because I know they still exist. That sword has got to be, I'm not going to say up there with the ruby slippers in the way of sought after props, movie props, but I bet you that would fetch easy, 6 figures of put on the open market at an auction.
Oh man, easily. I mean, I personally am love of all the props in that one. I think as a child, I love the owl the most.
Mm-hmm.
I thought a sword. I get the sword was absolutely gorgeous. You said that the other day with the diamonds and the gold and how it was. I thought the shield was interesting. I thought the helmet was. Honestly, I remember having a toy that looked a whole lot like that helmet. Unfortunately, it did not make me.
He did too. He did too, believe it or not.
I think I still
And the old. Now I'm like on the wiki because I did do research, but my brain is still shot from throwing up activities. Too much drinking last night. So the older one. Did you all know that it was filmed in? It was filmed. Or parts of it was filmed in the United Kingdom, in Italy, and Spain.
Yeah, I figured Italy and Spain.
And Malta.
I didn't know about the UK. And where?
Malta? Yeah.
Okay.
That's where the fight between him and the Kraken. You have to say, when you say Kraken, you have to do it with like a British accent. I don't know why, but the Kraken. Even Liam Neeson, who's Irish, kind of had a British accent when he said, "Well, at least the Kraken." But anyways,
yeah.
I need to grow up. But yeah, that's the other thing I like about the older movies. Some of them were filmed like. I know this is not Clash of the Titans, but the old Clint Eastwood, the Fistful of Dollars, The Good, Bad,
Westerns. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're all filmed, they're called spaghetti westerns because they were filmed in Italy. The style of directing and filming over there, of that era was just amazing because they actually did not have the green screen. We're going to say that you're on somewhere, but really you're just on some lot in California. Right. And so, no, I appreciate location filming, especially if it's a historical piece. Not saying that Clash of Titans was a historical piece, but you get what I'm going with.
Right. It was somewhat historically accurate. Let's go there.
Right. You're right. There's roads in Rome that still haven't been worked on or still walked on every day by hundreds of thousands of people.
Yep, that were still working.
Yeah. Just the modern, the marvels of the ancients still survive in some areas.
That's why I watch the ancient alien shows, not because of necessarily.
The aliens.
Yeah. I really love it. So for me, it's so inspirational thinking about the different theories and the different locations and the different, quasi magical, let's call it technologies. How they would be perceived by people of a lesser technological level. I still watch all those kinds of, not just Ancient Aliens, the show, but any of the shows that deal with those theories, just because they're so inspirational for my Dungeons and Dragons games. I love thinking about, in a at a different angle, how I can use those ideas.
See, I kind of have to disagree with you though on the running that as a campaign. I would not allow elves, dwarfs. There's a lot of things I would not allow, but I would allow centaurs.
Sure.
I would allow not nymphs. What chase nymphs around? The goat-legged one. Satyrs. Satyrs. I mean, there's still enough meat in it, especially with 5Es.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember the old Hercules cartoon where Herc's friend was a satyr, this little satyr kid who was annoying as hell. But I used to watch that cartoon all the
that
time.
one.
Yeah, Hercules wears like this green toga. It's basically like Superman in a green toga.
Makes sense.
And it's really, really old, and it was really corny and cheesy. But I watched the hell out of it. And yeah, centaurs, satyrs.
I
Maybe.
I mean, you could say, I don't know. You have Amazon women, which would just be humans, I guess.
Right. That's a good one I didn't think about.
But there's a lot of cultures or creatures in the Greek mythology that are playable. Well, they are now playable creatures in 5e with the current edition that you could do a Clash of the Titans theme game, or you could do the Odyssey, or I think doing the Trojan War would be a little much. I think that would be a little heavy. But there was this book series, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief.
Yeah, we saw that one. I think that was the only one we saw, but we did see it, right?
The other one was the books were so much better. I read them to my kids. But going back to Clash of Titans, I think if you took the Percy Jackson to meet the Clash of the Titans and just be willing to work with the system or the system that you're willing to run, you could make a proper Greek mythology game. You can have all the players be bastard children of the gods, just random dice to see which one you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be cool. I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's for the gaming point of view, Clash of the Titans, I can definitely see a RP story coming out of if the DM is willing to not much. He just has to do He has to do a little bit of work, and that's fine. That's our jobs as DMs. We should have to do. It's
constant research.
Yeah, and that's why. And I said this was last night with DM James. I think I think a good DM knows his history, his world history, because there's a lot of aspects in world history that goes really good in gaming. So hypothetically, if you could if you could replace any actors with current actors for the Clash of the Titans, the old one, would you, or would you keep it the same cast?
I'd probably keep it, but that's just because I don't know enough about any modern actors to give any possible answer. And I think they were good, but
I mean,
yeah, I don't think maybe the newer movie. I think it'd be easier to make those switches.
I don't know. Uma Thurman is young Uma Thurman is the love god. I'm losing it. Jesus.
Aphrodite?
Yeah.
I unless they dyed her hair, I don't think that would really work. She's a ginger. She's a ginger. Right?
Yeah, she played Medusa once, so it can't be that hard of a stretch.
Really, did she?
Yeah, she played Medusa in the Percy Jackson movie.
Really? I don't remember that. Yeah, she's an acquired taste. I like her in some things, but I wouldn't date her.
That's more than fair. I've never been a big fan of the guy who played Perseus. Not Mark Hamill. What's his name?
Harry Hamlin.
Hamlin. I've never been a big fan of him. I always thought his acting was kind of
stiff.
Just what did you say?
Stiff.
Yeah, very wooden, as I've heard people just. Mm-hmm. I mean, his fight with the Medusa was good. I thought and this is not. I'm not trying to criticize him as an actor. I can only imagine what it is like to say, well, you're fighting against this, but you can't see it. So there's no real emotion behind it unless you're, doing a gladiator. I'm trying to stay in Roman-based, movies or, that era. where you have a great big tire lunging out to you, where you do the whole shit moment. You know,
Yeah.
when you're fighting a tennis ball or whatever they were using back then, it
Different things, right?
I shouldn't blame the actor, but he just, like I said, I've never been a big fan of him. All his stuff, he's always been kind of just, as you said, stiff.
I honestly can't think of anything I've ever seen him in but this.
Yeah.
And well, yeah,
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm
being agreeable. For this, I think
How dare you?
his acting style was I'm not going to say perfect, but totally within the confines of what was required because he was young, both as an actor and as a character. So I don't expect him to be over the top like Mark Hamill was, for example, in the first Star Wars movie. He had a
Oh,
lot
God.
more emotion. He had a lot
Yeah.
more emotional, output, and they're very similar stories, if you will. But I really liked, when like in the very very beginning, his actual smile and enthusiasm riding the horse and learning to ride the horse, and those scenes, he was having the time of his life. Imagine being, a 20-something-year-old, kid in Italy or Spain
Grease.
or wherever, with cameras on you. You're wearing, for all intents and purposes, a diaper while standing on a horse,
Oh, yeah.
on a beautiful beach. I mean, that's like trying to be mad on a sea-doo. You can't do it. You just can't. You're
Oh,
having
yeah.
the time of your life.
I completely agree. Huh. For a little bit of a side note, in the video game Gods of War, he took up his role again as Perseus.
Did not know that.
Oh, was not aware.
And I'm looking at I'm looking at the movies he's did, and he was a voice actor for God of War 2 for Perseus. Well, that's kind of funny because Kevin Sorbo in God of War 3 came back to play the Hercules role. So that's really cool that they did that.
Absolutely. That shows a tremendous amount of appreciation, not just for for the movie or whatever, but for the whole genre. It's like, who could we get? Oh, well, let's get the original, so to speak. Let's go get him, and it shows they just didn't make a slap together a video game. They had they had the wherewithal and did the research and have done research and were clearly bigger fans of Greek mythology than myself. I did read a lot of it growing up as a kid because that's in a lot of ways Greek mythology is the very first experience most of us have with mythology. It almost we don't in school they don't teach us about Egyptian mythology or anything really old. It starts with if you get any mythology in school in like elementary to high school, it's going to be starting right with Greek mythology, and that's like you're lucky if you get that class or get that time.
Oh, yeah.
I was fortunate to get it, and it paves the way for all of the other stuff that will come after it. Technically, historically, what comes after the Greek era, what's next, what's next, and if you're lucky, and like I was, I went off on my own looking at those kinds of books. When it wasn't required reading, I would go and find the Hercules books, and then I found out, oh, there's stories like this from all over the world. Oh, okay, I want to know more. I want to read more, and that eventually leads you to, fantasy, Tolkien or whatever, or maybe it'll turn you. Maybe you'll make a veer left or right and start reading sci-fi on your own, which of course I did, and I'm more of a sci-fi fan than fantasy. But yet I played and dungeon mastered 100 times more fantasy than science fiction, which is something I'll remedy in the future.
I was going to say, that's something I wanted to. I was thinking of something. I completely lost the train of thought. Hopefully it circles back. Mythology. Yeah, I think Greek mythology and Roman mythology is just the basics and most schooling, and that's just where we get to. Other than like maybe St. Patrick's Day when we joke and we talk about the leprechaun, or of that St. Patrick. Um,
Which is
not
a
a big
shame because
fan.
there's a lot to be learned from all of those stories, like Grimm and Aesop's fables. There's lessons to be learned in all of those stories. That's why
yeah.
they taught them, because that's what they used them for in the old days, was to teach these lessons. Because so and so did this, that's why we do this now.
I mean, even
You know, I don't have
even the
examples.
name of our weekdays. Friday is named after Freya. Wednesday is
Thursday.
named after Odin. Thursday is Thor.
Oh.
We still use them in modern day without thinking about it.
Yeah.
But I think we got most of. We talked a lot about the first one. Let's hop over to the second one. With a brand new shiny CGI and all the bells and whistles. It's like getting a new car that's still Ford. Anyways, what did you guys think of the new one?
I'll let him go first because I have a few things to say.
I went into it thinking I was going to hate it. There were things I'd heard about it, things I figured, it's going to be woke as hell, blah, blah, blah. But it's actually 2010. So maybe the wokeometer wasn't dialed all the way up to 11. And I really didn't see a whole lot of that. There was a few things I could maybe attribute to that, but not really. There were, like I said before, there were some departures from what I expected. I expected Perseus and Andromeda to be head over heels in love, and that wasn't happening. As soon as I saw Io, it went, oh, okay, that's where it's going. They got the prettier actress to play Io, so she's going to be the love interest because they don't want to stick to script, because that's what the story is about. It's about Perseus and Andromeda. Io isn't a constellation. There's a reason for that, because she wasn't part of the story. She got relegated to a moon of Jupiter or Saturn, and most people don't even know that because she doesn't fit into the story. She's not part of the story. Even at the end of Clash of the Titans, when they're talking about all the heroes and gods that get their constellation, Andromeda got one. Io didn't even get a star. So
Andromeda got a galaxy.
Right. And so Galaxy, I thought it was just a star. I know it's a constellation, but the overall movie, I was very entertaining. I was like, I'm liking it, but I don't want to, I'm like, but all these things that are, different, but I have the same reaction when I watch things like Bram Stoker's Dracula. It's not Bram Stoker's Dracula because on page 1 they go, toss the book. We're going to just write a story about this guy named Dracula, happens to be a vampire, and we're going to use some character names, but everything else is going to be completely different. But I really liked all the actors except the hero who played Perseus, which I didn't dislike him, but they had to shave his head because that's the only way they could make him different than everybody else in the movie. In those days, nobody shaved their head, or everybody shaved their head, like in the military. Okay, he wasn't in the military, so they didn't shave his head. Wasn't shaved for that reason. His old man had hair down to almost as long as mine. Everybody had long hair back then because cutting your hair was just something they didn't even think about doing unless it specifically got in the way with your day-to-day life. And even then, they didn't really have scissors. Maybe they did. I don't know. But it wasn't right. But it wasn't a real big thing. And so they shaved the kid's head. I think he was in one of the Terminator movies, maybe.
Yeah, he was in the.
I know I'd recognized him from somewhere, but I'm like, he's not really. He didn't stand out enough as much as Harry Hamlin did as the lead character. And so what they do, they shaved his head. Okay, now you can recognize him because
he's the bald one.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't like that. They didn't even have to do anything like that with Perseus. They just said, grow your hair out for a couple of weeks, months, whatever. Come back to us and we'll start shooting.
That's fair.
And his he just didn't have the same. I get it. They were trying to make him the rebel and the against type kind of character. I don't want to do this. I don't want to use the magic sword. I don't want to be like the gods. And yet, he had no choice. He was acting like one of the gods. He was just acting like Loki, maybe. And then again, like I said, with Andromeda, she was like nobody in the story for a few scenes, and she should have been there.
She was in a maximum of 7.
Yeah. She wasn't even in there for maybe 20 minutes of the entire movie. She should have been there for at least a good half hour to 45 minutes of the movie. And we didn't get to see some of the things we saw in the first movie when it came to the lead female character. I'm going to leave that right there. And she just the two main characters were Now the gods, on the other hand, Liam Neeson was phenomenal as Zeus. I just like, this guy is great. Even though they should have made his beard and hair white. Okay, whatever. It's like Qui-Gon Jinn is Zeus. Now it all makes sense. And the other gods, Hades was great. Was Hades who was the actor who played Hades? Do you have that?
Ralph Fiennes, Fiennes.
Okay, I thought I recognized him because for a while we were both thinking that Liam Neeson was playing both parts, but I'm like, no, close, but not really the same guy. I can see the little differences, and they're supposed to be brothers, so okay, they got two guys that really look alike. Cool, that works for us.
Yeah.
And all the other characters, I did like how they had, the two Hunter brothers and the other, the other red shirts, let's call them. I actually like those characters. The guy who taught Perseus and the other characters. I liked them more than a lot of the characters, except maybe Burgess Meredith, because you can't hate Burgess Meredith. Even in Rocky, you love the old bastard. The other side characters were actually more interesting than Perseus, in my opinion. The Hunter brothers; those guys were great.
Yeah, it had absolutely nothing to do with the story, but they were great.
Yeah,
I didn't understand the Jinn. That to me was just like, what are these aliens doing in this movie? They don't get me wrong. I'm doing Sinbad stories, and I've just been talking about Jinn for 2 weeks straight. But one, I never pictured them looking like Kroot, and two, they look more like aliens. I love the blue eye thing; that was really creepy. But why are they here?
Yeah,
they don't make any sense. If you want to make a Sinbad movie, throw them in the Sinbad movie. I'll watch that. I'll watch that all week long. I was like, and then the monsters, the scorpions. What other monsters?
Scorpions were great. I mean, compared to the first, I don't really want to say one is better than the other because, yes, they are the same movie in a sense, but no, they're not the same movie.
Yeah.
Those scorpions were epic. You could have just made a movie fighting scorpions, and I'd watch that.
Yeah.
They especially we play Shadows of Brimstone. Giant scorpions are a thing, and they're a thing all the time. So absolutely, yeah, they were phenomenal. The little robot owl, they really should have given him a little bit more time in the movie. If you're gonna, hey Max, how's it going, bud? They should have given that dumb little robot bird a whole minute, not just
5 seconds.
Yeah, I get it, but
at least they showed some love. They could have just not did it at all.
You're absolutely correct.
Just ignored that whole thing because they didn't need to, but they still did.
Yeah, they could have just totally said, "Nah, we're not gonna pull that out of the the vault and dust him off." What other monsters were there besides the scorpions?
Besides the scorpions, there was.
What am I forgetting?
There was the scorpions. There was
obviously Medusa and the Kraken, but wasn't there?
The witches were a little bit more.
Yeah, we like the old witches better.
I like the new witches.
They look like something I have a miniature of. They look like bone eaters, didn't they?
I think, yeah.
There are these things called bone eaters from Shadows of
You know
Brimstone
what?
that have
You
no
know why
eyes.
I like the original one? I like the newer one is because of the eye. The eye was actually an eye,
Yeah, the eye. I like the eye better
Mhm.
because there was an actual
where
eye.
the old one was a crystal ball or a glass ball or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I get it, I get it, I get it, but
Yeah, the eye was absolutely
Yeah.
better. Again, it looked like they were aliens or something from Shadows of Brimstone instead of the hags. We like the fact that you could see the sunken flesh covering their eye sockets instead of this huge rubber mask they
yeah.
were creepy, and I could definitely see using them in another movie or something. Oh god, those would terrify you. That's nightmare
Now,
fuel.
if
But they just
you
didn't.
notice, and I'm not meaning to cut you off, but we're sort of talking about the witches. Did you notice that they're hanging out on a hand?
Yeah.
No, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, they were hanging out on some thing
Giant
that had
statue?
a what?
Like a giant statue or something.
No, if I remember correctly, it was more because they said this is where the Kraken defeated the Titans. I
Yeah.
believe that.
Oh.
I believe that's what they
But
said.
yeah,
I
it
know
was an old. It was an old. It looked like a hand, and their little cauldron and everything was sitting right there. I'm like, this is really cool. I mean, I know this is all
Even though-
CGI, but still, this is really cool.
Didn't even notice that. Didn't notice that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I like the physical witches in the first movie better, but the whole environment, including the eye, was way better in the second movie. Not just because they had better technology to make it, but the first movie, I understand they couldn't have done the thing with the hand, so they just couldn't do it. But
And I liked Kalados better in the first movie. He was just so changed so drastically, and at the same time had that sort of Ray Harryhausen stamp on his overall look. His face is right out of the Sinbad movies, the Cyclops or
Minotaur?
the Minotaur. Yeah, not the Minotaur. What was it?
No.
Not the Centaur. Well, the Troglodyte.
Yes.
The face is like, okay, we're going to do this, and it looked just like it had Ray Harryhausen's stamp all over him, and I could see how the gods would turn. If they're going to turn that one woman into Medusa, they're going to turn Kalados into something that is definitely not even human looking. It was just way over the top, and I loved it. The new Kalados just looked like a burn victim or something. He didn't. He retained enough humanity, in his overall look that it just wasn't as scary.
Well, it wasn't even the same person. In the newer one, it was. In the newer one, it would have been his grandfather that the gods.
Right. Yeah, I didn't like how they changed all that around, and
I didn't mind that. I think they jumped the gun. In my opinion, I think they jumped the gun on the Crichton too soon in the first version of this, where they kept it back until the end of the film with the new one. It's like the old Alien movie where you just didn't see a horde of them chasing you down. There was only one at the time.
You didn't see it until the very, very end.
Right. And when it comes to horror movies or monster movies, I don't want to see the monster right up front. I want to,
like with the first Medusa scene in the shadow, where you just see her shadow, and you go like, "Oh,
right.
Leave something to the imagination."
Right. That's because hell, I just got done painting I just got done painting the Kraken maybe 3 months ago. I got one with tentacles.
The WizKids one.
Yeah.
We did that on the show. It was a lot of fun, and we only used craft paint.
So, well, that's all I had. No, that's not. Well, it was a mixture between craft and armor.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get you some good paints one of these days.
And I'm not worried about it.
Let's talk about the gods. Or you want to do your thing?
Yeah, I have a lot to say.
I didn't mean to step over you there, Jack. What did you think?
So about the movie in general, again, said it was entertaining. I'm not sure if I should get on how a lot of the things, because the actual plot.
Oh, you're not in camera.
Oh, the actual plot, the things they made sense, but a lot of other things, I just don't know what the movie's trying to say. I mean, a lot of things. I mean, he covered most of what I thought about the actual movie in general, the plot, everything like that, the monsters.
Yeah, the movie did seem to us like they were trying to impart a message or a moral to the story that was different than the original.
Well, no, it sounded like they were trying to give you two different messages
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
same
that's
time.
right. That's what we were talking about last night. It's like there were two different running themes in the movie that were both different than the original, right?
Yeah.
Well, in the original movie, it was good versus evil, love triumphs over everything. And in the second movie, it was like the gods are good, the gods are bad. Humans good, gods not so good. But yet, the gods were the good guys. At least
Aside
Zeus.
from-
At least Zeus. Zeus was
aside
like,
from the Kraken and he originally did agree with Hades. Hades managed to convince him in the beginning of the movie, but it seems like that was only a thing for a small amount of the time, maybe half of the 10 days.
yeah. But the whole humans, throwing off the gods, yoke of oppression was just like completely.
But the weird thing about it, I mean, even if you disagree with the message, at least you can understand that there is a message being given. It seemed like they would say one thing and then disprove it in the very next scene.
Yeah, like I said, the Zeus was like,
at least in the later half.
In the first movie, Zeus was a dick. Okay, he was, but in the second movie, he is like the greatest dad ever. You know what I mean? He wanted one thing and got convinced into, okay, we'll be a little bit more strict on our children, but then in the end, he's like, you guys are my kids. I love you. Blah blah blah. I love you so much. I'm gonna resurrect the love of your life. He's the only person on the entire planet that could possibly relate to being a half god, another half god, because you guys are meant to be together, unlike the original story. So I'm going to resurrect her so you two can frolic off into the sunset, because no human woman could ever work with you. So I'm going to bring her back from the dead. It was just like I knew instantly when I saw her. I'm like, oh, she's a half god. Oh, okay. So it's not about Perseus and Andromeda. It's about these two half gods, and they're going to go off and make more half god babies so that they can make a sequel someday of all the half gods that are still around in the 2020s or something like that. It was just like, wait, okay, that's what that's about. It's not about what it used to be about. It's now about this, and all the humans, except obviously Perseus and the people who went off on Perseus's adventure with him, were scumbags. Basically, the royalty were scumbags. Maybe Andromeda was the only exception. She was decent, but
you didn't really see her enough to know
that meth head priest, that crackhead looking priest to the gods and all.
At the beginning, he was fine. And then, at the end of the movie,
they just kept giving him more crack. They just kept giving him more. Oh, we're out of crack. Okay, here, have some meth for the final scene, and all the people were just so ready to just sacrifice Andromeda to the Kraken because there can't possibly be another alternative. Everybody in the entire area was ready to just sacrifice her, and she herself was ready to just walk into the the sacrificial altar there without even thinking about it, but the whole time they're all like, fight the gods, fight the power. Oh no, but not that one though. We can't fight that one because he's gonna squish us with his Godzilla feet.
Those guys were worshiping Hades at the end, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, they were worshiping Hades. See, the way I took it is, you had that the guy who played Percy's father, not Zeus, but the actor who played Percy's father.
Who's also in Dragonheart, right?
Yeah, the monk in Dragonheart.
The bard, I thought he was like the.
He was a monk / father. He was a friar. I don't know. It's been forever since I've seen that movie too.
I love that guy. He was awesome.
Oh yeah, he's like, they're having like 3-4 days of bad fishing, just can't pull anything out of the sea, and he's like, enough is enough. Eventually somebody's going to go up to the god and say, knock your shit off. Well, that's not what he said, but that's what he was saying.
Right.
and they just happen to come across some of those soldiers from that kingdom tearing down a statue of Zeus. Hades shows up with his imps,
Demons, whatever. Yeah, those are really well. Those are really good.
Wherever they were, and Percy's adopted family kind of got killed on happenstance. It was just bad timing. Congratulations, you won the bad timing award of the year. So Percy's out for revenge. Percy wants a piece of Hades. He wants a big old piece. And that's how I took it. I didn't think this movie it did have the love interest. L-O is her name.
Io.
Yeah, is a love interest. But it wasn't the main drive as much as it was with the original one. Right. It was, I want justice for what you did.
Yeah.
And that's how I took this one. But, when this movie came out, revenge was a hot thing when this movie came out. I mean, not every movie was about revenge, but there was a lot of movies that were roughly at this time period. It was like revenge, vampires, and something else was the flavor of the freaking year.
Werewolves?
Yeah, something else. I think this was the same time as Twilight came out. So that Twilight. Yeah, it was a Twilight.
That's why I said werewolves. Yeah.
I liked a lot of the side cast. I mean, even getting away from Hades, Zeus, that woman, Andromeda, she's pretty.
He froze up.
Did I freeze up? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay. The woman who played the love interest in the first one, I didn't mind that she only got like 7 minutes of airtime. It wasn't the end of the day for me. It didn't ruin it as much because it felt like compared to the first one and watching the second one, this was the same movie, just instead of going right, we went left. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I didn't mind the king being one of the bad guys in it because he kind of got what he deserved when he chucked a woman and her child into the ocean.
Yeah.
I don't mind seeing him die violently.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Draco. Draco was the captain of the Royal Guard. Man, I got the actor, Mads Mikkelsen, Mikkelsen. He is in the latest Harry Potter. I call them the Harry Potter movies because they're from that world. But the latest Fantastic Beast movie, he's the one who took Johnny Depp part.
I've never seen a Harry Potter movie or book.
Oh, well, okay. Well, he's been in a lot of movies. He was in the new version of James Bond. He was the first villain at Casino Royale.
Okay.
The guy, did you see that movie?
Yeah, I did. It's been a while. It's hard to picture him because he probably had short hair, right? And no beard.
He's the one who cried blood. He had a weird. But anyways, he is one of my favorite actors. He was also in the old Arthur movie that came out in early 2000s.
Didn't see it.
There's a movie. There's a movie we should talk about. Do Arthur versus Excalibur.
Okay, maybe we can do that. Maybe.
That'd be kind of cool. But no, I appreciate. I guess my thing is I appreciate both movies for what they were. I appreciate the talent that went into the first one, the claymation, the acting. Well, some of the acting. I think some of the acting. Filmed on site. There's a bunch of things in the first movie that were just done right. I mean, just done right. In the second one, okay, you're right. It should have been a love story like the first one.
it wouldn't have hurt anything. They could have just swapped actresses if that's what they wanted. You know what I mean?
Right.
If it was a casting couch issue or something, I don't know. It just
I got that.
it just that's what it was. Why they needed to go that route when they've already changed a bunch of stuff? They really don't need to go that route and change that too. But at the same time, I kind of understand because they're both demigods, and I read a lot of Amber and other books that have immortals or whatever you want to call them, and so him, hooking up with Andromeda, like in Lord of the Rings, Aragorn and Arwen, someone's going to outlive the other by centuries, and that makes the relationship kind of pointless from a cold-hearted way of looking at a love story, if you will. So giving him someone he can grow old with, okay, I get it. That's fine. But nobody ever thought about that until this movie. So, maybe, she gets old, she dies, and then, even though he's a demigod, he looks like he's 100, so there isn't going to be another romance in his life, and he just, fades off into the sunset, and, Divine ascends and meets up with her in heaven, Olympus, whatever. So I got all that, at the end. I'm like, okay, fine, that's cool.
Fields.
And it also was a way for Zeus to not just reward his son for doing, what he couldn't or didn't see through or whatever, but to reward his son and show love for his son in a way that only a god could understand or do. So I got it. I just, it was like, okay, there's so many things that are different. And now you want to throw this at me too, when this would have been the very first thing I would have put not on the chopping block for me, But like I said, I found the movie, vastly entertaining in a lot of ways. The fight scene with Medusa.
I was about ready to ask that one. I was about ready to ask that. I was about ready to be my next question. Compared to the old Medusa fight to the new Medusa. Oh my God. Two different creatures. I mean, same creature, but two.
Yeah. And like I was telling my son, they actually made her scary and hot at the same time. Does that make me weird?
Yeah, I would say that.
But at the same time, the only thing I didn't like about the fight scene was the shield.
What, the old one or the new one?
The new one.
The new one, yeah.
The shield really would not have been that shiny and reflective on the inside, in my opinion.
It was pretty shiny and reflective in the old one. I mean,
exactly. Because I was thinking that he was going to have to use the sword as a mirror, not the shield, because the shield looked like it was made out of, like hardened bark or something. I know it was chitin from the scorpions, which I don't remember seeing any part of the scorpions looking all bumpy like it did. So I'm like, what is that? The underbelly we didn't see, and why is it shiny? In order to polish something up that's made out of something like that, to get it that shiny, you'd have to spend weeks polishing that thing.
Maybe it was just a metal they already had.
No, it wasn't metal. It was made out of
the entire thing.
Was made out of chitin from the giant scorpion. So I thought he was going to have to use that lightsaber. It does, among other things. Thank you, Mac. Thank you very much. I resemble that remark. I was expecting him to have to use that lightsaber because that's what it was. You can't get away. You can't get out. You can't get away from that. I'm like, okay, he's gonna have to use the lightsaber as a mirror to be able to see Medusa coming up behind him and then lop off her head. But no, he didn't even really use any reflective thing, did he?
He did.
He did.
But it was a good fight. It was, it reminded me of like a fight scene out of the original Lord of the Rings movie when the goblins are all crawling on the walls and the ceilings to get at the characters in not Helm's Deep, the Mines of Moria.
Yeah,
before they fought the Balrog, these things are just crawling like fighters everywhere. And
fight the Balrog. They kind of did the whole running thing, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, you know what I mean. When they turned tail and ran like scared.
I mean, one of them did fight him because he was an XP whore. Mm-hmm. Run, you fools! Because I want the XP.
But it was a great fight scene. She looked great. She looked terrifying. And the fact that some of the best characters in the story died fighting her. That was kind of depressing.
That kind of happened in the first one too.
Right,
Well,
but they
yeah,
weren't like
yeah,
they weren't. But there was no emotional attachment to those red shirts in the first movie that died
Well,
to Medusa.
yeah, but before the Medusa fight, but still in the same island.
It was
Actually, no,
kinda-
After.
when Zeus gave him 2 coins to get there and get back, it was kind of a pre-telling that he's the only one who's going to be able to get there. And
Yeah,
actually,
I didn't see the 2 coins. I thought it was just one. I thought it was only 1 coin in both movies, which was going to bring up this point. It's like getting there. They made a big deal about getting there. Here's the coin. You need the coin to get across. But then they only had 1 coin. Maybe they had 2 coins in the first movie, but I don't remember that. And then he's just in the first movie he just got back and it was no problem. It's like, oh, it's round trip. Don't worry, I'll bring you back too.
Yeah, I didn't dig that. That's the one thing the second one had, I think, done better. Well, I shouldn't play that game. This one did this better, and that one did that better. But after he has to go basically to the land of the dead to fight Medusa, and he was given 8 coin. He was given
1 coin.
1 coin, and he just lucked out both time. No, the one time, the newest one, because
Pegasus showed up magically, knowing that it's time to show up. That
no,
to me,
dear old dad sent Pegasus. I mean,
I hated the fact that they changed the color of Pegasus. I hated the fact that there were more than 1 Pegasus because that's not how it went. Pegasus was the last.
The pearl, I hate getting that argument a lot. No, there's 1 Pegasus, and his children are called Pegasi.
Why they changed it black?
I mean, I'm a fan of black horses. I didn't really.
Me too. But if Pegasus had been black and they changed it white, I would have been pissed off at that too. We all know Pegasus is white. It's always been white.
Because of the clouds. Yeah.
Why change it? Why change it? Either they're trying to give a message, or they want a little bit more, creative license, or somebody just hates the color white so much that they had to change it. But they didn't change the other ones. But to change this one is just a bunch of just one little detail.
I honestly, with much low shadow, I think you're just overthinking this one. I think somebody pointed at the stable of horses, like, which one can we use? Well, you can use that one over there, and that's how we got the Black Pegasus.
That I don't think so. With the kind of money they spent on the costumes and everything else, when they had massive scenes of people, they didn't skimp on that. They could have just went with a big white horse.
No, I get you. I don't know. It's not like I'm ever going to be able to get the director or the producer on this damn show to ask him that question, because that would be one of the questions I would ask.
It's just one more thing that they changed for no reason whatsoever. It's like the lightsaber. Okay, it didn't need to be a lightsaber. The sword, they would have the idea of a handle magically sprouting a sword didn't exist, as far as I know, ever in all of human history until the lightsaber. There was never the concept.
I think there was a few.
Maybe,
but now
they didn't need to do that. They could have made it a sword in a scabbard the whole time, like every other magical sword ever. Why they did that, it just didn't. I get it. Creative license, you want to do that. You got Qui-Gon Jinn in the movie. Let's put a lightsaber in there. Okay, if that's why they did it, then I'll laugh and go, okay, that's funny, and I appreciate that. But if there was some other reason other than that, it doesn't make any sense. I know it's a little thing, but
it's a very, very small.
But thing. I spend my spare time painting tiny little people that are this big, and painting every little tiny detail. So I'm going to go on to every tiny little detail that's wrong, because if someone is looking at my miniatures, I expect the same kind of criticism. Hey, you didn't paint this pouch right. Fair enough. No. I'll go get my paint.
Now, I know in the first movie you joked about how he lost the helmet in the swamp. He lost the shield. He didn't lose the shield. The shield was melting in acid. That wasn't on him. That was just
Totally fair.
And
But then he leaves
left.
the sword in Kalados's stomach.
Right. I'm like,
What? Why?
this is just dumb.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, okay, the most powerful magic item in the campaign that we're playing, a +5, let's just call it a defender, because I mean, some books say he was a paladin, whatever. Okay, let's just say it's a +5 defender. You kill the big bad, kinda, but not really, because you still have to go fight Medusa. So
No, that was after Medusa.
Oh, okay. So you fucking Max. So I'm going to leave the most powerful magic item in the campaign in the big bad guy's stomach because I've only got 1 hit point left.
Even though everything else is dead.
Yeah. No, I'm going to keep that sword. I'm going to give it to my son, and my son's going to give it to his grandchildren. And for the rest of human history, that sword is going to become world famous. You know, if they wanted the gods to get their sword back, they just could have went bling and it disappeared. But no,
it just
he just left it
in the first place.
I know, he just left it in the guy's stomach, to where anybody could have walked along and found that stinking
not
corpse.
Anybody, because it was already on the island.
Somebody could have come along, 6 months later, went, oh, check this out, dead body and a +5 sword. Just dumb.
At least with the shield, I mean, the gods said that it was lost forever, but they could have just went searching in the swamp.
Well,
yes, it is, Max. I've been watching your show long enough, and it's not been that long to realize that is the appropriate response. Even the helmet, I can understand. It's like, I was standing here. The helmet's got to be in this direction. I don't know about you, but a helmet that turns you invisible, I will drain that freaking swamp until I get that helmet back.
The swamp I didn't exactly argue too much with, because I've been in bayous down, in Florida, and
Same here.
You could lose something, and for all amount of sense, it should be right next to your foot, or it fell a foot away. And because of current, because of everything else, swamp is a moving, living creature to itself.
Yes, but a +5 sword in the stomach of your enemy.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to leave it there. I don't care if it drops me to negative hit points to carry it home. I'm going to pick up the damn sword.
At least he remembered to take the sword in the second movie, in the remake. He has the sword. God only knows where he got to by the time the Wrath of Titans, but we're not talking about that movie as of yet. We're talking about the first one, or the second one. No, there was just a lot of little things that they did differently, and there's a few big things they did differently, but I honestly think the remake was a little bit more rounded out more than the first one was in just certain areas.
I will say I liked the... my apologies. I did like the thing with Hades better.
Oh, he was phenomenal.
Not just Hades being there, but it made more sense. In the first movie, and I'm more accurate and all, but it just feels better to have it be Hades instead of, what was it, Amphitrite? Or no, it was Poseidon's wife, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maggie Smith is technically the actress's name is. Her character.
Yeah, absolutely. However, we were watching it with his mom. We were watching the second movie, but we didn't watch the first movie with her because she's like, oh, I hate this Greek crap, And I'm like, well, too bad we're watching this movie tonight because we got to do a review with Connell tomorrow. So you can either kick back and watch it, or you can go find that bridge, and Dan, and I won't mind if you hold hands because we're watching this movie.
That's it. Blame Connell. Everybody else does.
and I'm watching it with the family and thinking, I'm like, she's going to get up and walk in like 5 minutes because it's already too complicated, And had she watched the first movie, she probably, I can almost guarantee, would have stuck around for the first movie and watched it, as opposed to the second movie, which was, it was even a little complicated for me, trying, like, what the hell? What the hell? What are they trying? But I think for anybody who wants to get into Greek mythology or mythology in general, I would definitely start with the old movie first, and if you like it, then go on. It was almost like a Disney movie, looking back on it. Albeit an older Disney movie, but it had
I
that.
don't watch very many, so
Yeah.
I can't.
But it just had that more wholesome, easier to understand and digest feel to it. There were no ambiguities. There were no, shades of gray whatsoever in the movie. It was totally straightforward, simple, and even though it was longer, it was easier to just relax and not have to think and just watch the movie. Get into it and just relax and enjoy it. The second movie had me on the edge of my seat the whole time. I'm like, what the hell?
It's
talking through the movie, knowing full well that it can't understand or hear me.
It's funny that you say family friendly, the first one, and towards the second one, I'm like, wait, family friendly means no boobs or butt. I saw both in the old
and
one.
It was glorious. Even if it was attached, even if it was all attached to an 18-inch long neck, I'm okay with it. You know what? Because, like I said, it was glorious. It's perfect. That's why they picked her. It's like, okay, you want to play Andromeda? Okay, strip. All right, you're hired.
Oh no, I was talking about Percy's mom in the very beginning of the movie. See, that's the other thing that got me. With the first one, Zeus told Poseidon to put them somewhere safe where they can grow up and he can be safe, ... In the second one, Zeus doesn't even know he got that woman knocked up.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
He does. He does. But he doesn't care if it lives or dies.
Mm-hmm.
And he eventually gets saved by the fisherman family. The fisherman. I liked the way that the second one went. I think, Zeus as a god, as a mythological god, was a dick. I mean, he was just straight across. I want it my way.
Until the end.
Care how it ends. I want when I want it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as he should. He's God of all gods, and with that kind of power, But before we get off too far, I have to go back to the boobs because that's the kind of person I am. I find it weird that boobs and butt is far more offensive than murder and killing and murder. What kind of society do we live in when something that's completely totally natural and everybody has and does and will be naked at one point, if not every day of their life, but it's not every day that we go out and murder or kill or murder? How is that?
I understand. I don't know. I mean, other than this country was started by a bunch of
Not to mention that half the population, if not more, wants to see more of that and less of the other thing. Because if there was, I guarantee you, if there was more, see, Max is right on. See, if we saw more boobs and butts and less murder, how would that be a bad thing in the real world? Seriously.
Well, as I said, this country was founded by prudes, so you kind of get what you get.
I want more boobs.
Right there with you. I mean, my birthday is September, and I told my mom of all people straight out, I'm like, I'm either going camping or I'm going to a strip joint on my birthday. One of these two things are going to happen.
That's a hard choice, man. I can't take the boy to the strip club just yet, but I can take him camping.
Oh, I know. I get it. Different, So, and she just looks at me.
I'm gonna shoot you.
My son's turning green here. You can see it. You can see it. He's turning green.
I'm gonna shoot you.
Oh, it's funny. My mom's response is like, the woman that you're romantically interested, won't she care? I'm like, I don't know. So I talked to her later the same day. It's like, hey, if I'm not able to leave town for my birthday for camping, do you mind if I go to a strip club instead? She's like, no, I'll buy you a beer while we're there. I'm like, see, I'm good.
Life is good all over the planet.
Yeah, but no, back to Clash of the Titans. Jesus.
I'm gonna have to check that out next time when we do a movie review.
What?
I'm gonna have to check that out next time we do a movie review.
Which one?
Never mind. Boobs.
Oh my. Any more? Mm-hmm.
No.
You know,
I think
I cannot tell you how many women when that movie came out, I was too young to go see it because I was like 15 or 16 when that movie came out. That one and Showgirls. I was once again too young. But both responses, most of the women in my life, or my mom, my aunt, other women I knew at that time, was like, after watching those movies, like, we're going on a diet. No more French fries for me. And I go, okay.
as you wish.
I don't go see like a Conan movie and thinking, I could eat less burgers in my life, but whatever. Rebecca.
Good choice, Max. Good choice.
I know that I'm recognizing that name. Is she from the first one? No, she's. I don't know. I have to look at it. I can't remember. I know the name. I just can't place it.
As long as it's not Jamie Lee Curtis in Trading Places, because that was not good. That was not good.
So let's talk about the ending of both these movies, really quick. Since we did the most of it, and we did. All right. Favorite fight scene in both movies. I mean, I know we already talked about Medusa, but favorite fight.
It is Medusa. Without a doubt, it's Medusa. Absolutely.
Medusa. It felt. What was you gonna say, Jack?
I was about to say something, but I was about to say. I was not about to say something. I was thinking of what I was going to say.
Okay.
Have not thought yet.
Still thinking.
Who?
Yeah.
Which fight?
He's still thinking which is his favorite fight scene.
Yeah.
You know, the problem is in the first movie, you have the Medusa fight, and you have the Scorpion fights, and then you have the guy, the monster, Calbob, or whatever how you pronounce his name.
Calados. I don't know.
Yeah. And back at that time, I mean, I kind of look things from a boxer's point of view or a fighter's point of view. And I hate old school fighting scenes because they're all so damn hokey. I mean, there's boxing movies. That's why I praise Rocky or Raging Bull, because they knew the only way to make this work is for you to punch me.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you know, by the time that we got to, let's say, the Lord of the Rings movies, they got so much. The fighting scenes got so much better. I mean, because they're actually hiring people who know what the hell they're doing. Not that I'm saying that people know how to fight orcs and, you know, Uruk-hai, but they understand the science of sword play. Yeah, I don't know, you know. But then we get to the newest one. And there was a fight with his dad. There was a fight with the Scorpions. There was a fight with Medusa. Am I missing anything? Oh, no, that's the second movie. The Scorpion, the Imps, sorta.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. I have to say Medusa. I think, I like the fight with him and the one-on-one fight between him and his dad in the remake. I thought that was really well done.
But the Scorpion battle was pretty epic. I mean, that was
for me. It was between the fight with the Scorpions and the fight with his dad. That was I think for me it was those two. But I still don't know which one I like.
Yeah, I mean, with the original one, the Scorpions were about the same size as a large dog. It felt to me, not including their
pretty much just a distraction. It seemed.
Yeah.
They kind of were in this movie, but they became a lot more than that.
Yeah, and then when they thought they were done, then there's 3 left.
Yeah.
The giant ones they end up riding like something out of Elder Scrolls, those giant insects that they use as caravan tools. I forget what those things are called, but
Them
yeah,
writing I mean, the scorpions, I love the scorpions in the second one. I really do. But having the Jinn show up, they're not even part of Greek mythology. And I'm not saying that Greek mythology doesn't every once in a while rub up against a Middle Eastern mythology, because it does have its moments because how close the two
sure,
cultures were. And I think
yeah,
that's why I gave it a pass. I think that's realistically why I gave the Jinn the pass, because the two cultures rubbed up against each other a lot there back in the day.
yeah,
I
but they
mean,
were just so alien looking. It was just, it was such a shock. What the hell are these things?
if I thought if I took that design and put it in a different movie, it would
Oh,
be
that's the same thing.
Yeah,
I said the
it would
same
be
thing. It would be epic monster alien type things.
and see they look more tree-ish to me. They look like
That's what I
evil
said.
tree.
Groot. They look like Groot. That's what I kept
Yeah.
calling them. Like, since when do Jin look like Groot?
I don't think they ever did.
Yeah, and those glaring blue eyes, even though they're tiny little beads, it was such a contrast. I'm like, these are spectacular, but out of place.
Oh yeah, I just think they were using the wrong. I think those were beautiful designs just for the wrong creature. I mean, correcting me if I'm wrong, but you guys are painting an Inferi and a Jinn as we're talking about.
Yeah.
If they had a Jinn, yeah, a Jinn, a little bit this way, guys.
I don't
A little this way.
know where the hell my camera is.
Yeah.
Right there.
If they had the one Jack, if the one that Jack is holding shows up to help them fight off, to help them deal with the scorpion or whatever, I wouldn't have said two words. Hold on, let me if I can do this. No, not me. Not you. Hold on. I suck at this. But yeah, I'm just gonna say the one that you guys. There we go. Now slide it a little bit more over to the other side. There we go. The one that Jack has. If something like that showed up on the screen and basically said, "We're here to help you," it would have been better than what we got.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it was cool. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It worked out in the end, I guess. But they just.
I mean, the guy died. I mean, the Jinn didn't actually make it to the end of the day, anyways. So.
Yeah.
It was just so weird. It was just so weird. I mean, don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed the movie, 10 times more than I expected.
Mm-hmm.
And
We weren't really expecting to like it.
and
Well, wait till you guys watch.
moments-
Wait till you guys watch the Wrath of the Titans. That one's pretty good too for what it is.
Okay, I've never heard of it. I'm gonna write that down.
It's the sequel to it was originally going to be a trilogy, Crash, Wrath, and I don't remember what the third one's going to be.
Trash.
Though that's kind of what happened to it. It got chucked in the trash. But maybe the third one would have had more boobies to save the franchise. I don't know. Don't know. One would hope. Okay, so I think we've talked about at least enough. For there's still enough on the meat. Enough. We talked enough of it where you guys still have meat on the bone for you guys to do your review of it coming this Tuesday.
Absolutely.
I want to bring up Conan because we talked about that earlier. Conan the Barbarian. What do you want to talk about? The RPG, the movies, the comic book?
The comic books, because Marvel is apparently losing their ability to make Conan comic books.
Right. I didn't know Marvel did Conan comic books.
And that's what I wanted to talk about. Back, I don't know if it was 77 or if it was earlier, but 77 is when I discovered Conan. I actually have a #1 Conan comic book, which is one of my most prized comic books in my collection. not only did they do comic books, in traditional color, but better than that, there was the Savage Sword of Conan magazine, black and white, almost always. Black and white comic book art will, for me, always be my favorite because that's the bare minimum. And if you can make black and white art as good as the people like Barry Windsor Smith and some of the old guys back in the day, where they were making the magazine and it was going to only be black and white once a month, magazine size, so bigger pages, bigger pictures, bigger artwork. If you like Conan, then that is where I would recommend going. If you haven't read the paperback books, or even if you have, the magazine Savage Sword of Conan is the best depiction and art style that Conan has ever known. The movies, I don't care who did them. To me, I would rather read one comic book or receive or be able to purchase one of the magazines than to get the movies handed to me free, brand new in the shrink wrap. I would rather read any one issue of the comic books because that is the way Conan was described and depicted on every page of the paperback or hardback books. The novels by Robert E. Howard. Conan always had a specific look. He had the Prince Valiant cut off bang, long black straight hair, blue eyes, and body, that big muscle guy. That's Conan. That's how he always looked. And like when you were talking about Aquaman and the white supremacist version of Aquaman. I grew up reading and watching Aquaman with blonde hair, blue eyes, and you got to understand, back in the day, there weren't that many blonde-haired, blue-eyed superheroes. So as a little kid, I could kind of identify, hey, Aquaman kind of looks like me. It didn't bother me that he had the weakest set of superpowers in the book, because later on I understood that, well, gosh, he's pretty strong to be able to not get squished when he's down at the bottom of the ocean in his sunken city of Atlantis. He must be pretty dang strong to not just turn into jelly and to be able to swim down there, 40,000 fathoms or whatever at the bottom of the ocean and his other powers. Sure, summoning fish isn't the greatest of powers until you're underwater. And then you have an army. Like Max said, we have an army, we have a Hulk. Well, I have all of the creatures in all of the oceans at my beck and call. That's pretty powerful. Aquaman is gay, but I only know the Super Friends cartoon version. If you actually ever read when Aquaman had a harpoon instead of a hand, when he got his hand chopped off, and he had the beard.
It got dark there for a hot minute.
That's the Aquaman they should have went with. But instead, they had to retcon everything I grew up and liked about the dumbest of the Super Friends. So I just didn't like it. Now back to Conan. Conan always had a certain look and always had a certain feel, and those comic books. I don't think his wife thought that way. I certainly hope not. But then again, never mind. I'm not touching that compensation. If you truly love Conan, find a way to get, even if you can only get like which is a what annuals are, right? An issue that comes out only once a year. You can find some of the Conan annuals of the magazine pretty reasonably priced. I paid like $5 for annual number 1 or 2 recently on eBay. Once you start reading the magazines, especially if you've read the paperbacks or what have you, those are, while they're not always canon, some of them are, lifted right out of the pages of the books, the stories. Sometimes they're not, in which case they're, just made up stories about Conan that may not technically be canon, but I don't care because Conan had so many damn adventures, and there's so many times in between chapters of Conan stories that a whole bunch of stuff happened, but nobody knows what happened.
Have you seen the more recent Conan, the one that came out 7 years ago? Maybe
No.
We should do that. Maybe that should be our next movie review theory.
If Jason Momoa is in it, I won't watch it. I can't stand him. Anything he's ever done, I will not watch.
Sean Driscoll. he had complaints that me and Bruce were sitting watching. We were talking to him. This was after his show ended, or after one of our shows ended, after Bruce's shows ended, I think. Anyways, and he just watched the trailer. All he did was watch the trailer of the Jason Momoa movie, and he was with the. Yes, he was great in Stargate Atlantis.
If he's in it, I won't watch it. I don't care.
It's too bad. I think he's a good actor. I think he made a great. See, I like, but I thought he made a more book, a more. I thought he played a better Conan than Arnold Schwarzenegger did.
That's not hard to do in my book. That's not hard to do in my book whatsoever.
Okay. And
I don't like the original Conan movies either. I know it's petty and tiny, but they couldn't even bother to dye his hair black in the movie. They told Arnold, "Grow your hair out," but then we're not going to shell out the $5 for a box of hair dye.
But then Conan they dye it for Red Sonja.
Yeah, it was either Arnold said, "I'm not dyeing my hair," or they couldn't afford it in the budget, or they didn't give a shit enough to stick with. I mean, literally, there are thousands of Frazetta and Vallejo and other artists who've drawn and painted and sketched Conan, and he always has the same Prince Valiant freaking haircut. Right. There's a reason. That's how he looked. That's how he was described. Why veer off from it? I mean, you want to change Conan? Okay, give him, a tattoo. That would make more sense. You want to change the way he looks. Give him an eye patch. Fair enough. Okay, he lost an eye. I would buy that more than something so microscopically in the first page of every Conan book. That's how he's described. That's how he looked. Yeah. That's Conan. I just don't get it. I know it's tiny, but that's like making someone male instead of female or female instead of male. Why? Why do you do it? Oh, because somebody said you didn't tick enough boxes. You couldn't say hair dye. Fair enough, Max. But he could say come and pumping iron, couldn't he?
What is mi cigar? I
think to this day they have yet to do it right, and they do it wrong on purpose, and there's no excuse.
Well, the remake, knowing you and your qualms about certain actors, I think the first one, just because of the first part of the movie, even before Jason Momoa even shows up as Conan, you won't see it even because Ron Perlman's in it. I mean, yeah, I know it has a lot of bad, has some hitters in it for you that you don't. Yeah,
well, let's back up that. Let's back up that particular, because I will watch Mutant Chronicles, and I know everybody hates that movie. I will watch that movie. I will watch that movie every day for the rest of my life if I had the time, because it's Mutant Chronicles. And yes, I know Ron Perlman's in it, and he has one of the best lines in the movie, and I quote that movie all the time. But that's because I love the franchise. I'm not going to say more than Conan, but because he's not the main character in that movie, so it's different. Whereas, if I hate the guy, if I hate an actor, and he is the starring role, definitely will not watch the movie.
The remake basically starts off with who's narrating it? God's narrating it. What's his name? Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman's the narrator for the first 5 minutes. Not 5 minutes. For the first few minutes of the film, setting the world up. Then.
Exactly.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Exactly, Max. But
I said it's not really a Mutant Chronicles movie.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like I said before, if they marketed petrified dog shit with Mutant Chronicles stamped into it, I would buy it. I love the franchise that much.
So Morgan Freeman's narrating the beginning of the movie, just setting up the world building right there, just a few aspects of the world building. Then you got Conan's people being attacked by different people, and you see Ron Perlman in his Conan, not as dressed up as Conan, but in his barbarian furs, and his wife is on the field fighting as well. She's like dying, and she's so pregnant. He cuts the baby out of her, and so Conan is warborn, more or less. Mm-hmm. That's the way I took it. Then it shows a young Conan, probably 10 years old, who is probably more vicious than 15, 16-year-olds of that time, 15 or 16-year-olds. And there's like the first 10 to 15 minutes of it is just young Conan. Then Jason Momoa comes in. And I personally think that they had a good cast for it. I don't mind Jason Momoa as an actor. There's far worse people out there, in my opinion.
Sure.
I think he.
I might meet him, and he might be a great guy. I don't know. Everything I've ever seen him in, he's like Ryan Reynolds. He only plays one part, in my opinion. It's the same character, just different costume. From Stargate to everything else I've ever seen him in. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I'm not going to say you need to go see it, but if you find time, and if everyone to do a Conan like we're doing with Clash of the Titans, I don't think you'd be too disappointed. I honestly don't think you'd be too disappointed in the movie. And the movie also came out before the woke bullshit really got started, so it still feels it's a guy movie. I mean, there's no real way around it. It's a guy movie.
Right, but
I know, just Jason Momoa. But as I said, there's worse actors out there, like Ben Stiller. But we won't go into that right now.
The only thing I ever liked him in was what was that name of that movie where he played Mr. Furious?
Oh, Mystery Men.
Thank you. Yeah, that was the only movie I enjoyed, and that I could think of that he was in.
What was I watching? I was watching The Patriot last night with Mel Gibson. I know a lot of people were anti-Mel Gibson, especially after his rant on a freeway with the cops and kind of got in trouble a few years ago. But I like Mel Gibson movies, but he always plays the same character.
That's a fair assessment. Although, what was that one movie? I think Ransom. That I think maybe might have been different.
I think he actually did some stretching as an actor with that movie.
I wasn't going to correct you.
I liked him in, Mad Max, the 3 Mad Max movies he did. I liked him in Lethal Weapon. The dude, guys. Yeah. I liked him in Maverick, the remake of the old TV show.
Yeah, that was fun. That was fun.
There's a lot of these actors that we give praise to that basically act like this. It's like Ryan Reynolds. God, everybody loves Ryan Reynolds. I love him as Deadpool because that's, he is Deadpool. Even
I liked him in Waiting. That was my favorite. Waiting. That's my favorite Reynolds movie. Waiting.
I worked in the food industry for a while, and I'm not saying shit like that does happen, but I'm not saying shit like that doesn't happen.
It's where they're waiters. You haven't seen it. It's
right.
So, what about you, Jack? Have you seen the old Conan movies?
I have not.
Wow, those are. If I was doing a history class, yes, Jack. I know. I'm not Jack. Legion, Max. I'll get there. Max. I know he is a one-trick pony, but he does it well. I mean, if you go back and read some of the Deadpool comic books, he talks and sounds like Ryan Reynolds. No, so just not your bag on the Conan movies, or has it been an age appropriation?
No, it's because I'm in charge of what movies come into the house.
See, that was my job.
If I don't buy it, then he doesn't get it.
Braveheart. My stepdad wanted absolutely nothing to do with the movie Braveheart. My stepdad was a very special person, and we're not getting into that right now or ever. But but he thought he had final say on everything when it came to the house. Well, we were at Eagles grocery stores. Eagles has gone out of business. 25 years ago. But they're renting movies out there. And I'm like, Mom, can we please rent Braveheart? Because I was just making fun of the movie. I was just making fun of the title. She's like, yes, we can, just because of that. Just me being snarky. And he comes in the house, he starts watching it, and he likes it. He absolutely loves it. But he does not like Mel Gibson as an actor. I think that's why I was going with Braveheart. So I don't know why my stepdad was a very special man. I think there's movies out there. Yes, certain actors do replay the same role over and over and over. I mean, freaking Jack Nicholson. We praise Jack Nicholson for Chinatown. And
what do you mean weak, Kimosabi?
What?
What do you mean weak, Kimosabi?
Okay, you don't praise Jack Nicholson, but there's a lot of people out there praise Jack Nicholson as being one of the better actors of his era. But he just played Jack Nicholson in whatever role he took. Mm-hmm. I mean, when he was Batman, and he played the Joker, he was just Jack Nicholson in makeup. Mm-hmm. But up until Heath Ledger or the voice of the great Mark Hamill, mm-hmm. He was the best Joker we had. But he was never the Joker. He was just Jack Nicholson in makeup.
I don't know. I really think Cesar Romero he was the Joker.
For me. The Adam West ones. Yeah, I purposely forget about those because they drive me up the wall. That
guy was the Joker. I'm sorry. Although, you know who else actually made a really good Joker? You're not going to believe this is going to come out of my mouth, but you're not going to believe who else.
Not the newest guy.
Nope. Way back. Keep going.
Well, there's only been a handful of actors that have played Jack Nicholson. I mean,
he wasn't an actor. He wasn't an actor.
Who? Okay. Who?
Danny Elfman.
The musician.
Mm-hmm.
What did he play?
And I think I'm pretty sure he wore Joker makeup in a music video back in the day, and he was great. But you know who else was also pretty good? Prince. When he did the bat dance, I'm like, okay.
Prince. Oh my God. Oh.
Mr. Purple Rain himself wore Joker makeup, and I'm like, if you were like just a little bit, like if you were like 5 foot tall, I'd believe it. But of course he wasn't.
The guy who played
3'8" or something like that.
Green Goblin in the Spider-Man movies, the old Tobey Maguire.
Willem Dafoe.
I always thought his facial structure would make a great Joker.
He is probably the greatest actor on the planet. He was born with that face. He was born with that face and didn't put a bullet in his head as soon as he turned 21 and could buy a gun. Wow. That guy. I know. I'm just. I actually love everything I've ever seen him in, but damn, he's got a face for radio. That's all I'm saying, man.
I get it. I've been accused of the same thing.
No, I actually love everything I've ever seen him in, but
have you seen him in Boondock Saints?
Yes.
I love that. I quote that movie a lot.
And if he ever meets me and he wants to take a swing, I wouldn't blame him. But you know what? After I pick my ass up off the ground, because he's like, 8 foot tall or something, I would say, can I buy you a beer? Because damn, I love your movies.
The latest Spider-Man movie that just came home, I don't know if you guys had a chance to go see it yet. It's No Way Home.
Yeah, I saw
Willem
it.
Dafoe reprised his role as the Green Goblin, or as the Goblin. And part of his deal was he didn't just want to be the face. He actually wanted to do the scenes. He wanted to be part of the movie. So that's why there was a scene in it in the second half of the movie where he's not wearing the helmet. He just had the purple hood on, and that's really him.
Carrier without it on.
Yeah. No, I jokingly and seriously say there's not a man alive that scares me, but there's a good half dozen that make me worry, and he's one of them. Next to the guy who played the Mountain on Game of Thrones, the last guy that they had. Geez, Thor, whatever his last name was, that guy was huge. I want to fight him in a narrow alley. When I say narrow, I'm talking about 2 feet on both sides, just where you have to walk like this going through it. That's the only way I want to fight him. But going back to Conan, if you could find it in your heart, see the newest one, I think you might like it. I really do. Because I think it represents Conan, at least in the filming media, the best out of all of them. Now, like I said, I did not know that Marvel owned Conan. I figured DC.
Well, not owned, but licensed the rights or what have you.
Right. Yeah. I just figured DC did through Dark Horse because they own Tarzan. I mean, oh my God. Can we please get a good Tarzan movie on this side of that century?
That would be nice, but if you're ever, looking for one, just Legend of Greystoke.
Oh, with Christopher
Lambert.
Oh, actually, there was one that came out a few years ago. It had that one guy from True Blood in it as Tarzan, and it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. It's just forgettable. It doesn't stick out.
I grew up watching Ron Ely as Tarzan as a kid, and then he played Doc Savage. Yeah, Doc Savage, and I just found that on Amazon. So I'm like, oh my God, I should never have turned on Amazon to watch movies. Because funny story, real quick, both Clash of the Titan movies I bought brand new from Amazon.
Not so funny story, really.
Then we tried to watch one. DVD player doesn't work anymore. Apparently, watching 3 Sinbad movies in a row broke our cheesy little DVD player, and we did not have the opportunity to replace the DVD player in time for this particular video. So I went to Amazon and we rented both movies that I just bought from Amazon.
They must love you right now.
They're like, this guy is retarded. He just bought the movies. He just bought the movies on DVD. He just bought the movies on DVD. Now he's renting them from us.
Well, I had to go to HBO Max.
Come on, Mac. Come on, bring it. Come on, Mac.
HBO Max had the remake of Clash of the Titans. I saw it maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago, so that one was so fresh in my head. And I'm like, well, I don't own the old one. So let's see who's streaming it. Am I going to have to go to Netflix? Where am I going to have to go? Luckily enough, they're actually also streaming it on HBO Max. So I was lucky enough I've seen both of them. I just watched the old one last night while I was having dinner. I was having lamb and couscous and watching that movie. I'm like, this is not a bad way to have dinner. And that was after me and Dee and James did our thing. But what was I going to say? The Conan movies. I think the Conan movies. I'm trying to get that train of thought in a straight line. I think the Jason Momoa is better than Arnold Schwarzenegger movies because, well, Jason Momoa actually knows how to talk in a proper English tone at this juncture in his life. I'm not saying he wasn't before, but he did a better speaking role than Arnie did. No offense to Arnie, he's done some great movies. I'm just saying that those movies were not one of them. Yeah. So I think, and Marvel having rights to it, like I said, I always thought it was DC via Dark Horse owned rights to Conan. I mean, I can't even tell you the last time I've seen a Conan comic book even anywhere near when I walk in the comic book stores these days.
It may have been a while that I haven't bought or gone into a comic book store in a long time. I buy everything on eBay, and I find that I like being able to shop around and get the cheapest price possible for old comic books, as opposed to pay $5 for a brand new comic book that's gonna irritate me when I read anything that's been written in the last couple of years from the comic book industry. That being Marvel and DC. Independents, I don't know.
I mean, there are some independents that are good, some independents that are bad. Only a few that are really, really notable, at least when it comes to the bad side.
I'm trying to think of the last comic book I bought. Oh, Old Man Logan, Marvel, Old Man Logan, which it's a rough comic book. I mean, this might have been their last comic book before they went to the woke arena.
I can't see myself buying anything without finding out first.
Old Man Logan is not the main Marvel universe. It's its own universe where all the bad guys got together and realized, wait, we outnumbered the good guys. If we all work together, we could take out all the heroes. So they did. Then America got broken up into different warlords or landlords or whatever. Yeah, Hulk became of California. Red Skull became the president of America, and it just got broken up who got where. And Wolverine, old man Logan, lives in California on a dust farm that has basically nothing. He has a wife and 2 kids, and the landlord, the inbred Hulkers, I don't know, the children of the Incredible Hulk are come to get rent, and he doesn't have the money, so he has to hook up with Hawkeye, and they have to go on a merry adventure to try to get some money to pay rent. I know that feeling. I'm gonna be short on rent this month. What can I do to get some extra money? It's just a really, really dark comic book, and you find out at the end, and this is why I say this comic book is not woke. You find out at the end, you find that Hulk, in his infinite wisdom, realized the only person that he could breed with is with his cousin, She-Hulk. And that's why all the Hulks turn out to be inbred cannibals. So when I say Old Man Logan is a dark, when I say Old Man Logan is a dark comic book, I'm not joking. It is a dark comic book for Marvel. And the whole Adam West.
Maybe they figure since nobody's reading, they can print whatever the hell they want.
More power to them, because it was a good read. It was a damn good read.
I'm more inclined to fill out gaps in my collection of stuff that's 10, 20, 30 plus years old.
No, this one is at least 12 years old.
Okay. One for collector value, because I can get that stuff dirt cheap, because only collectors want that stuff, and it's a hard sell for comic book store owners and comic book owners, and it's a better value. And when all this shit shakes out, and the wokeness is dialed back down to like 5 instead of 11, and people are looking for quality as opposed to quantity, these things are going to be worth a fortune. My number one Conan comic book is cruising up on like $1,000, I think. I paid $50 for it, $65 for it about 25, 30 years ago. And it's still it's still in my collection. Perfect condition. I don't know what grade it is, but it's pretty up there. It's not, it's in the 9s, I believe. And, the stuff that's coming out now will do the same thing. It'll go down in price before it goes up in price. So buying a, like I said, a number one or a number 57 or whatever of an old comic book for $5, that's going to go up to 10 or 20 or $100 before all this new stuff. And a lot of the new stuff is going to go down in value before it goes up in value.
Oh, yeah.
Financially, it's just better to buy old stuff, and especially with Conan. With Conan, like the annuals, if you can pick up a Conan annual for like $10, it's one story, and you don't need to buy the next one. Okay,
Yeah.
That's what the annuals aren't like. Continuing stories. It's just a one shot basically, and that's what I like about the annuals of any comic book period, because it's just a one shot. Or maybe it might cross over to somebody else's annual, which they did, later on. But in the old days, it was like a one shot and maybe a couple other little short stories in it, or maybe just a bunch of little short stories, but they're all one shots. And therefore, you can pick one up and go, oh, wow, this is really cool. I like this story. The story's over. I put it on my shelf or my box or whatever. I'm done. And I got to look at all this really great black and white, although some of the annuals do have color art, which I hate. And I bought annual number 2, and I think it was color art, and I was really upset because, I like black and white art over color. But the story was great because it was Conan and pirates and, desert islands and stuff like that, my favorite kind of stories. And if you, get all your ducks in a row and you can, squeak out $10-12 and grab a Conan annual, I'm telling you, you won't regret it, and it'll be worth every penny that you spend on it.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it. I like the old Conan. I mean, I'm reading the book. I can't say I'm reading books. I have on my list of books. It's after the Amber series. I'm going to be jumping into the Conan series. But that's still 12 books away because I have a system how I read books. I'll do fantasy. Well, right now I'm reading about Project Paperclip, which was basically the history of, which is basically the history of America bringing over Nazi scientists so we can beat Russia to space.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, there's a microscopic chance that one of my ancestors was in that. I don't know yet. Yeah. Oh, just because my parents lie. When I asked them about where we come from on my dad's side, they didn't have a straight answer, and they came over here at the same time. So
yeah,
fingers crossed.
So after that one,
not like that.
I don't know how many books are in the Ember series, but I'm not going to just like straight read them all out.
There's 10. There's two series. There's 2 series of 5 books. The first series is better than the second series, and you can buy the Amber Chronicles in 2 hardback books, really cheap. Again on eBay. The first one is like the first 3 books, and the second one is the second 2 books, I think, or vice versa, because they don't split a book in half. And if you make it through the very first book, which is only, I think, 191 pages. It's really, really small. They're really thin paperback books. But you will, from the very first 10 pages, you'll be like, that's what Shadow was talking about when I say that he's the same author as the Dresden novels, just reincarnated or something. And you will, I'd be amazed if you didn't like them, because they're just absolutely fantastic books.
Like I said, I have a certain formula on how I read books, and I will start reading it. It just, if there's 10 books, it'll just take me a while to get through all of them, because it's
fair enough. I got a list too, and a buddy of mine actually wrote a book and sent it to me. Grim, if you're watching this, howdy, bud. I've only made it about the first 10 pages because I've got books to read for the channel that I've got actual obligations and promises. I would read this book, I would do this, blah blah blah. I get it. If you got to read stuff because of reasons as opposed to you just want to, then you got to knock those out. And fortunately I knocked out the big stuff last month or this month. I don't have much left. I have to read. I think I got about 75 pages of some TSR, old TSR stuff I've got to read. But that's like one day and I'm done. The rest, I can finally sort of squeak my way into reading for fun and pleasure as opposed to,
Yeah, no, I get you. Actually, we got, well, I don't mind going over 2 hours just by a little bit. But do you, Jack, I know I talked your dad into reading the Dresden Files. I think you might like them, at least the first one. I mean, I recommend this book series to everybody because they're really well written. And if your
You like
dad, you think you'll like them?
I think you would. Unfortunately, I didn't read it. I listened to it on audio.
Well, I'm the same way. I think the guy who narrates it is just brilliant for that.
Yeah, he's really good.
So I'm thinking, well, next week. How about this? Since let's get this already down in the written down for next Sunday. Jesus, next Sunday. Somebody forgot to take the Ritalin today. This guy. Let's do a review on Dresden. Let's do the first book.
I'm okay with that. You okay with listening to 8 hours of
Well, Jack doesn't need to. I mean,
Yeah,
one
I
reason
prefer
why-
reading.
what?
that means I got to buy the book.
You're right.
He's gonna make me buy
Audible?
No, he said he prefers reading the books.
Well, I don't know what to tell you. You're being a weird child.
No, that's good. It's rubbed off for me, I guess, because I normally prefer to read, but when I discovered enjoying Audible books, it allows me to do two things at once, sometimes even three or four things at once. And I'm all about multitasking these days. If I can, if I can listen to a book while I'm doing the dishes or something stupid like that,
yeah.
or
Well,
painting,
Well, the theme on this week's Table Breakers is the origin of the 7 types of stories, and your dad is coming on there.
I still think there's 10, man.
I don't know. We'll definitely get into the weeds about it.
What's the name of the first Dresden book?
Stormfront.
That's right.
And I'm just thinking, I'm going to use today's launch pod as Clash of the Titans was definitely the romantic adventurism aspect of the genres.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, certainly.
And this coming week on Table Breakers, which your dad is going to be a guest, I believe.
Yep.
We're going to be talking about some more. So next Sunday, I say Dresden because Dresden is never another type of genre. It is a noir. But anyway, going with that one, just feeding into Table Breakers, into things that me and your father both enjoy. Dresden might not be a great choice because it's 8 hours of reading that you might not have, and you're still in school for another week or so?
One more week, yeah.
Yeah, 1 more week.
So it might be on the bad timing award, but me and your dad could still talk about it and just turn into more of getting into the weeds type of analyzing the Dresden book, at least the first one, and how we could turn it into role playing, like what system, character building aspect at that. And I might be able to drag in a few other people on this chat for Dresden, because there's a few of us Table Breakers that really, really love those book series. If that would be something you're interested in, Shadow.
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, I depending on how it works out, we might even be able to do this one and full moon.
Yeah.
Just I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but there is that possibility. Let's see how long it takes me to get him a paperback copy of the book. Or if not,
I can listen to it on Audible.
Yeah, if I can't get it, in a couple of days.
You got chores? Do your parents give you chores?
Not really. I'm home
usually
all
working.
Yeah, I'm home all day. I take care of most of that crap, and he's at school.
Okay.
Get home at 3:30.
Yeah.
Well, he mows the lawn with me and takes out the trash, and that's about it.
Okay. No. Oh, my aunt had a very interesting theory. I agree with. School for a child is doing work that they need to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I did not live with my aunt all the time. I lived with my parents who believed I should be doing dishes, doing laundry, doing this, doing that, and doing school at the same time. So it was, however long school's 8 hours, then do all my chores after work, after school, which I didn't get to bed till like 1 o'clock in the morning and had to be up at 5.
Mm.
So Audible's got me through a lot of my Audible books got me through a lot of my chores because I just throw it into a tape player Walkman for those who remember Walkman, and just tune out the rest of whatever's going on in the house and do my chores.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's why I said, "Do you have many chores?" Because I was thinking of my own childhood.
Just homework. And it's the last week of school. If they give them homework in the last week of school, I'll pock something.
Yeah. I mean, they're lucky I even showed up the last week of school. So what grade are you going into there, Jack?
High school.
High school. So you're going to be a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. It can be fun. Well, as I've said before, school now is different than the school I went to, which is different than the school that your dad went to. But freshman year has always been freshman year for whatever generation you're in. You leave 8th grade as a top man. You know how the school works. And as a penguin, you waddle in as a freshman, not knowing how anything works. And it's not until you're really junior to senior year you realize, it's the same thing as what I just went through in junior high, just, more BS. Then you get done with that. Then if you go to college, guess what? You do the whole penguin dance all over again as your freshman at college. At least that was my experience. Miles may vary, as Max puts it. So, freshman, huh? You going to do any sports?
I don't believe so.
You going to take any? You're already at a bilingual school. Is the college you're going? Not college. Is the high school you're going to also bilingual, or is it just English only?
Yeah, there is Spanish classes, but there's
he would just walk to the front of the Yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard that there's some of the easiest Spanish classes in the city. So.
Yeah. 9th grade was terrifying. I'm not gonna lie. And then I got there, and not so much.
I was in boxing since my 6th grade of junior high. I mean, anybody who stepped up to me, I just put down. But as I've said before, a lot of these gamers, a lot of the people that we talked to had bad times in high school, and they didn't dive into it.
That's what made us gamers. That's what made us gamers.
Gamers,
we were the nerds and the dorks.
Right, where I definitely say I was a geek trapped in a jock's body. I didn't get messed with very often. I wasn't liked by a whole lot of people, though, either, because my mouth. Because I will call people out on their BS. And it's not the best way to do high school, I guess. But I hope you enjoy high school. It can be fun if you with the right group of people. What language do you speak fluent? Anything other than English?
Spanish.
Good for you. If the high school offers anything, take I take any foreign language that you can. If they let you take two. I mean, there's more than the world than just English, and anybody who tells you that English is America's only language is English is full of shit, because America does not have an official language.
Not yet.
Every time, here we go. Max says Russian. Da. Just don't.
He's probably got Russian blood in him, so who knows?
Just don't be speaking Russian to any of your Ukrainian friends. That's horrible. I should make jokes.
French in high school.
Yeah, my high school, at least as far as I'm aware, or right now, they only have Spanish and American Sign Language. I think they used to have other languages, but I think all the teachers left.
American Sign Language is good. I can speak sign language, and it has helped me a few times in my life. But I hope your high school experience is good. I truly do. I hope that
It'll be fun. It'll be
successful.
fun.
And this is not going to be the last time we talk, Jack. But I'm hoping the best for you. I really do. Any words of wisdom from Shadow or Jack?
You first while I have time to think.
Same as it always was. Play games you love with people you love.
That's a good one. Max is now firing back.
What the hell is that first word there? Spanish.
Spangley. Duh. And this person, you gotta learn.
No, I don't. No, I don't. I'm still working on English. Haven't you guys figured that out? When I master English, then I will move on to a second language, and that, of course, will be probably Japanese because that's how I roll.
I'm technically there's this wonderful app I've been doing called Duolingo, and I'm learning Irish. Granted, it doesn't help me at all when it comes to the speaking.
Unless you've got a time machine, yeah.
I'm learning Gaelic, so it's fun. It's
actually my Irish side and some of my old friends actually speak it, and I don't know what the hell we're talking about. Yeah.
Maybe Firefly has the right of it. Maybe we should just learn Mandarin and China in English. I don't know. So you had a little bit of time to think there, Jack. And
words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom. Don't marry anyone named Amber Heard. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't do that.
Never date a woman with a tattoo of a dagger on her body.
That's for a conversation for me and you, Shadow, that we can't talk about. Yeah.
Guilty. Very guilty. Multiple occasions guilty.
So, anything?
No, not really.
He's still laughing.
Yeah.
All right. My words of wisdom today is, of course, as Shadow said, play games. Play games that you love with people you love. That is a good piece of wisdom. And I said that to somebody else this week. My words of wisdom is don't overcook your popcorn. Don't leave your soda open too long. And if the keyboard's sticky when somebody else used it, get a new laptop. Other than that, roll your dice in the dark and fill out your character sheet with a crayon. You all have a good day.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Max, for showing up. I'm really surprised you made it through the whole show.
Yeah.
The whole shenanigans. All right.
Yeah, make sure you guys check out Max. He's the best.
Mm-hmm.
He is. Hey, do you guys want to say anything about your channel really quick before I hit the in?
Oh yeah. We're all dressed up to do our next episode, which is a paint review. Oh, let's show it off real quick. Can you blow us up?
Well, I could try.
Okay. Here's the gin, or better yet, here's our Doc Savage for scale to give you an idea of how big this bastard is.
Wait, no, that blocked it. Yeah, that's all right.
What do you think?
I think it's pretty cool. It kind of has the old Terminator feel to it.
It's for Shadows of Brimstone, but fear not, we will use it elsewhere. But we're not only doing the little guy's going to be painting it, but because it's for Shadows of Brimstone, we'll be reviewing the box set that it comes in tonight, because it's part of basically a board game. It has its own special stats, and abilities and all that. You Shadows of Brimstone players know what I'm talking about. It's just I fell in love with it as soon as I saw it. Giant skeleton. It's I mean, this guy, he's going to be close to 50, 60 feet tall, to scale when he finally digs himself out of the ground. But it could be a Halloween decoration. It's so damn big.
Yeah. I might have to send you guys my Baba Yaga hot to go with it because good grief. All right. So that's what you guys got going on?
That's tonight.
Yeah.
Then the rest of the week, we're going to finish out the Ray Harryhausen with an Al Qadim. No, we're going to do the Clash of the Titans Tuesday, Al Qadim Wednesday. Thursday is another craft, which is from Clash of the Titans. And then Friday, an Arduin review. And Sunday will be our show-off show where we show off all the crafts we did this month and all the other things we did this month, all at the end to cap it off. And then next month, well, you'll have to wait till next month to see what we got on tap.
Well, that's awesome. I think you guys should be eating gyros when you guys do Clash of the Titans, but that's just me. I like food. So, and I know I already said my goodbyes. I already said my words of wisdom. Jack, this is your last chance.
I actually had something, but I forgot it. I know it had something to do with.
Happens. Tell you what. When you think of it this week, write it down for next week.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that being said, you can find me on probably this week's Gatekeepers, probably with Shadow, because Shadow has been there as well. You also see me on Table Breakers, where you also see Shadow again. Wow. Then on Friday, I'll probably be on the Chill stream with Shadow again. It's almost like we're doing a partnership on streaming. It's kind of weird, man. Then Sunday, you'll see me for another one of these with Shadow and Jack. Man, it's like something's really going on here. Anyways, y'all have a good evening. As I said, be safe. Don't do anything I want to do, but between me and you, that doesn't leave much. Yeah. Y'all have a good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.